Friends and enemies, refract yourself through suspended atmospheric particulate matter, provide a bridge for the old gods in Asgard, and place one foot in an Irishman's precious metal fantasy.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we form Feckless Moans.
And this is Talk Tull to Me.
An atmospheric promenade through this most excellent canopy, the air, in which Nick and I, rendered lighter than breath by our love for prog rock, traverse the sky from the wispy cirrus beginnings of This Was, through to the cumulus head clouds of Heavy Horses, all the way to the dark nimbostratus of Steel Monkey. Ooh, Nick, look! That cloud looks like Martin Barr's left hand.
Magical. Magical and lovely.
So,
welcome back. Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Nick, let me bring ourselves back down to earth for a second.
All right, let's come on down. Let's rainbow sprinkle ourselves down back to earth.
Indeed. May I ask you, Nick, what are you drinking this fine morning?
Oh, just a little coffee.
Oh, just a little coffee.
Just a little coffee. Well, it's a big mug, but all that's left is a little coffee.
Is it Arabica or Robusta?
It's whatever the Wegmans special is. So their generic Tubbo coffee.
Sounds like a blend.
What are you drinking, Omen?
Oh, what am I not drinking? I'm actually having a little peppermint tea this morning because my tum-tum is a little ho-hum.
Because of what you were not drinking earlier.
No, I think it's because of all the corned beef hash I had for breakfast.
That'll do it. Your constitution is not as strong as it used to be, Omen.
No, and also that stuff is really not meant for human consumption, but it is delicious.
That straight out of the can, drop it into the frying pan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crack an egg into it.
Yeah. I had scrambled eggs and pulled pork for breakfast.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, very, very protein rich.
I am protein. I'm pro-adolescent. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I apologize.
So, Nick, do we have any business before we jump into today's song?
No new emails, no new reviews. That was meant to make all of you listening feel guilty because I hope to always have a review or an email to talk about. But it's fine. We talk to you regularly anyway. I miss you, and your brother talks to me more.
Thank you, Mother.
But nothing this week. So we can glide peacefully into this song.
Well, let us step out into the candy-colored rain and have a listen to this week's song. And Nick, what is that song?
That song is Rainbow Blues.
Ooh, let us have a listen. Well, Nick, let's come back inside, shake the rain off of us. I got sopping wet from that song.
What a funktastic wonderland that was.
It's so much fun. You may have heard me say this before, Nick, but this is one of my favorite songs on the album.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same thing, and I'm going to go so far as to say this may be my favorite chorus in all of Tull.
That's valid. Now, Nick, I know that you're not a psychiatrist, but
not practicing anyway.
Not.
I don't get paid for it.
Not since they took your license away.
Not according to the medical board, yeah.
Why do you think that I feel guilty for liking the bonus tracks more than the album songs on this album?
That's interesting. Because because presumably the actual album is the foundation and the bonus tracks are that extra bit. So you should like what Tull has put more energy into and put more like the art that they chose to create and perfect, as opposed to like the bonus stuff that never got used. Right? Is that it?
Yeah. I think that's it, Nick. I think you hit the nail on the head. You can send me your invoice, and I will send you a wooden nickel.
A wooden nickel. Great. I'll put that in the gumball machine. But I don't think we ought to feel that way. You know, the more maybe pre-talk Tull to me, but now, having done so much extensive research and knowing more of the story of Tull and the different albums and things like that, I think it's safer, for lack of a better term. I think it's safer to be able to look at the songs separated from the album, and whatever album we're talking about. I think it's safer to separate them from that, but also to look at them in the overarching full catalog that is Tull, not strictly this is a song from Songs from the Wood, or this is a bonus track off of War Child. Although that being said, this is with the caveat that it is the hardest to do that with these tracks, because presumably they are a greater piece of something. You know,
you're talking about the film.
Yes, they were all created to be consumed as one entire piece.
Now, Nick, it's at least in theory possible that some of the songs that we've been listening to over the past weeks were not actually for the film, but were just other things that they were working on.
True. Yeah, we don't know for sure.
And to me, this one seems less geared toward a cinematic experience and more toward live performance. That's just my instinct, but who knows?
I agree. The only thing that gives me cause to second guess that is sound-wise, even though it's not as like grungy funky as it feels like it could pair with Paradise Steakhouse a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, it is in the same, I guess, the same world, or the same kind of. It's got some similarities.
As well as next week's as well. I think Glory Row sounds very similar to this.
Yes. Those three for me really do exist in they're holding hands as they skip down the road.
They could exist independently from this greater piece without needing further context, I think.
Oh, sure, they stand alone, much like the Tin Man or the Scarecrow or the Cowardly Lion does. Or
the cheese.
Together, yes, which we all must remember definitely stands alone.
Yep.
So, Nick, let's talk. Should we go through musically?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's jump into some specifics. Right out the gate, we hear a sound which echoes in the deep caverns of my soul, and that is Martin Barre's guitar.
Yeah, this song does a great job of bookending with some really serious funk, guitar and flute.
Yes.
That is adjacent to the rest of the song musically, but it is distinct enough that you get a nice beginning and end.
Yeah, it's not as harsh a shift musically as we have heard in Sea Lion 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you question who you are and where you are.
And what you've done with your life up until this point.
Yes. But it does provide a shift, and it's a useful shift somehow. I'm not exactly sure why. But I just want to point out something about Martin's guitar playing on this song. It's a general note that I think we can say about a lot of his work. And that is that there's a lot of guitar, and there's a lot of music. that if you take it out of context by 40 years or 45 years, you'll think, oh, that's how they played the guitar in the early 70s. And yes, that's the guitar of the 1960s or 80s or what have you.
Sure.
This guitar riff, I think that if you went on stage and were like, I've formed a new rock band, it's the modern stuff, and you went on and you played this guitar opening, people would be like, oh, that's so fresh and modern.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's so timeless.
That was exactly the adjective I was going to use. There's something about it that transcends a decade's particular style here, and maybe it's because Martin himself is a timeless being. Maybe his foot was in 2020 when he recorded this.
That's a good way to pull a hamstring.
Yeah, he was much more limber back then.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a great thought, Nick, and it's gone.
Fleeting. Goodbye. At the end of our first chorus is the strings, of course.
Wait till the show is done. Yes, I pack my ammunition.
Generally,
Yes.
if we plotted a diagram of when the strings came in, this is pretty common at this point. Generally, after the first verse or first chorus, Dee comes in with her strings, knocking the hell out of it.
Yeah, she doesn't usually start with.
No.
The songs don't usually start with her strings. It's either, as you pointed out, either the first verse or, in some cases, the second or third verse.
Yeah, sometimes it is a little bit later, but generally it's we get through that first simplified version of the verse and chorus, and then it evolves, it grows.
Which makes sense. You don't want to start building your widow's walk until you have established your basement first and second floor.
Until you are a widow.
Yes. Do you know what a widow's walk is?
I do, yeah.
Seen one?
I do.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You wanted to learn me something there.
Oh, I always do, Nick, but you're just too learned this morning for me.
Too learned, that's right.
Now, when we have in the verse, now in the first verse, when we have the flute and organ come in, I think just before the strings, or perhaps in between the strings, there is a sound which I very much associate with some of the songs from Heavy Horses. I'm thinking sort of specifically of One Brown Mouse. Do you know what I mean? It's a very hard to describe sound, but it's a quality of the organ that really kind of viscerally brings me into that couple of albums later.
Interesting. Okay. I'll look for it. I'll try to find both to compare.
It's somewhere in that first verse.
Yeah. Okay.
Streets. I told.
And then we have the rest of the music is pretty straightforward.
It is. It is. Not to say it's simple, but there's not so much variation and variety to make it worth like another 20 minutes of conversation. It's just a good rocking song.
It rocks, it socks, it pops. It's in 4/4.
Is the term blues here, Rainbow Blues, it is not a blues song, right? It is not in your traditional blues style?
No. Except, of course, in the sense that all rock and roll is evolved from the blues.
Sure.
And this is definitely more sort of straightforward rock and roll, which is more closely related to blues than a lot of some of the Tull stuff, which is kind of more influenced by jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, perhaps.
It has a similar genetic makeup.
That's right.
But beyond that, it's not like we're listening to This Was. It's not like we're listening to Stand Up.
No.
All right. That solved that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it. That's it musically for me.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else we need to say. I mean, everyone plays awesomely.
Yeah.
Oh, there is one little thing I want to point out.
Yes.
And I don't know if maybe I'm crazy,
Could
But
be.
I feel, but I feel like the strings, especially in the early section, in that first verse, are a little ahead of tempo.
Oh, interesting.
Pack my ammunition. Inside the crowd was shouting encore, but I had a most funny feeling. It wasn't me they were shouting for. So when the tall dark lady,
Which I have so many thoughts and feelings about. One is that there is a tradition in rock and roll of having one instrument or one section kind of rush the beat. That's what helps to give rock and roll its spontaneous, rollicking, uncontrolled feel. But it's not something that I often associate with Jethro Tull.
So are you positing that it is a mixing error?
I don't know. I don't know if that thought occurred to me, certainly. It could be that the strings were recorded after someone had one too many espressi
Possible.
and the rest of the band was playing at a slightly different tempo. It could be that there was a surge in electricity when they were rolling the tape, combining the two.
Also possible.
Or it could be intentional.
It's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. We have heard several instances at this point where we've seen a technique that has been tried once that we never see again.
Right, exactly.
So
that totally, I would totally buy it if it was intentional.
Yeah, so we could lean on to that. We could be like, oh yeah, well, I mean, that's that. At this point in 2020, after this was made 46 years ago, that could be the established. If anyone were to call them on it, if it's even noticed, if anyone were to call them on it, they could be like, oh yeah, we did it. People did it all the time, you know.
And regardless of whether or not it is an error or intentional, I think that it fits into the theme of the song. There's a theme early on in the song when you're hearing this glitch, if we can call it that, of being late or rushing to get somewhere. And so it does totally fit into that.
Right.
Regardless, again.
It gives a semblance of rushing and not waiting, like not having complete control because you need to get somewhere quickly.
Exactly.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm happy to think that it fits intentionally.
Yeah. Well, with those strings being tied neatly into place, Nick, shall we dive into the lyrics of this song?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Rainbow Blues. Now, Nick, what is a rainbow?
Rainbow is, I just explained this to Rook the other day. A rainbow.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did you see one?
Because
Did you see my Pride Insta post? Is that what it was?
I saw your Pride all the way from New York City up here, actually. Because I was filling something up with the hose and sprayed, and we saw the slight little rainbow. So a rainbow is when sunlight refracts through water droplets and basically splits the beam of light so that you can see each individual color.
Exactly.
It's the same thing a prism does. It's a light beam is made up of your standard 6 colors. It was only made 7 because Newton thought that 7 was one of those wacky magic scientifically significant numbers. Indigo is a lie, folks. You heard it here first. Red, orange, yellow, blue, green, violet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So breaking news, first of all. Second of all, yeah, it splits it up. It's the way that it reflects in the water.
Amazing. And if it's the light which is being reflected first by the moon and then refracted, it's called a moonbow.
Oh.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of them?
Maybe. I don't know. it happens, must be at sunset or sunrise to be able to have that degree of light?
No, in the middle of the night. If the moon is full, you can. If it's a moist evening, you can sometimes see a corona around the moon. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get a little bit of color variation in there, and that's a moonbow.
I've seen the ring around the moon. I've never seen it manifest as a moonbow. That's cool.
It's because you don't go out on moist nights.
And I don't believe in magic, so.
So that's what a rainbow is. And we've established what the blues are.
Yep.
Or, we've done our best to
go back a year and a half and listen to that first album.
Exactly.
Where we struggle mightily.
So let's talk about this first verse.
Okay.
Through northern lights on back streets, I told the coachman, just drive me on. It's the same old destination, but a different world to sing upon.
Through northern lights on back streets, I told the coachman, just drive me on. It's the same old destination, but a different world to sing upon.
Setting the scene. This is such good storytelling. We have the place, we have the action, we have the characters,
the subject and object.
We have the subject and object, and we have perspective, all in those 4 short lines.
Yep.
Northern Lights, also another fun atmospheric phenomenon.
That's true.
And that one truly is caused by magic that we don't understand. No one has ever been able to explain the Northern.
Not a one. Nope. They're too afraid to. That's the thing, is people won't approach it.
So Nick, already we have this sense of movement and place.
Movement, speeding toward one's destination. The same old destination, but a different world to sing upon.
But a different one.
This is a rock and roller's lifestyle song, basically.
Yeah. So he threw back his head and he counted. I jumped out about 5 to 9.
So he threw back his head and he counted. I jumped out about 5 to 9.
Now there's a little fun mystery double entendre. There are 2 possible ways of reading that. The coachman started counting, as in, we're going to be there in 9 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
And Ian throws himself out of the speeding car before they actually have fully stopped.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Or it's 5 to 9. It's 8:55 in the evening, and probably the show starts at 9.
Yeah. And also, could that be a musical time signature kind of reference there?
Only for Jethro Tull.
Only 5/9. This is played in 5/9.
I don't think that is a real time signature, but maybe in the 70s it was.
How would you count 5/9?
The difficulty is that there's no such thing as a 9th note.
Oh, okay.
The bottom has to be in even numbers.
Oh, yeah. It has to be an even bottom.
That's what we like.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that it's that, but it certainly gives the sense of just barely making it.
And
And I waved at the stage door keeper, said, "Mister, get me to the stage on time."
And I waved at the stage door keeper, said, "Mister, get me to the stage on time."
So there we have the first verse before the chorus, and pretty clear, pretty transparent.
Yeah, he's running late for a show. He jumps in a coach, which is just a taxi, I assume, right? A coach?
Yeah. Any kind of a cab.
Right, a guy who will drive you.
Sure.
And gets to the stage door, and he's basically running on stage from there, it seems like.
Yeah. Reminds me of that old Alec Guinness and who was it? Was it Guinness and Olivier, who were both performing in a Shakespeare show in London on the West End, but both of them had a big break before their first scene and Act 2 when they came back on. So, of course, being English Shakespearean actors, they went across the street to the pub, to have a few pints. And one day they got...
like, absolutely amazing actors, by the way.
Oh, the top. And they got a bit too carried away one night, and they were sitting there in their unknown, whichever pint it was. And the stage manager burst through the doors of the pub and said, "Gentlemen, you are on in 10 seconds." And they both flew, tossed money at the barman, ran out the door. Alec Guinness made it through they didn't have time to go through the stage, though. They burst through the main doors of the theater, ran down the aisle, in between all the audience. Alec Guinness, or McGuinness, threw himself at the stage, didn't quite make it all the way on, got his knees clipped out from underneath him, landed in front of the audience, and in the profound silence that followed, an old woman from the front of the audience said, "Mr. McGuinness, you are drunk." And without missing a beat, he lifted up his head and he said, "If you think I'm drunk, wait till you see Olivier."
Beautiful and amazing. It's Alec.
Drinky Shakespeare.
It's Guinness. It's just Guinness. Alec Guinness.
Just like my breakfast.
The original Obi-Wan Kenobi, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
That is how most of us know him.
Yeah. So there we have it. Now, Nick.
Yes.
Now it gets a bit mysterious with the content of this song.
Just in terms of the chorus, you're saying?
Indeed.
Yes. Go on.
"Oh, but the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun. So I slipped behind a rainbow and waited till the show had done."
Oh, but the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun. So I slipped behind the rainbow and waited till the show had done. Yes.
Oh, Nick, we have gone from the world of literal into the world of metaphor.
Of nonsense.
Yes. What are we talking about?
If I didn't know Tull,
Yes.
I would say a lot of this is like almost a personification or an ambiguity, euphemistic representation of drug use.
Sure. Yeah, it does. And, I think you're not the first person to posit that theory. As I was wading around in the filth of online commentary, I certainly saw that theory floated, or floating, perhaps. It was a floater.
Having been floated.
And certainly I can see why one might think that. Rainbow blues, it could be, you could be forgiven for thinking that it was the post-drug crash, when your serotonin has been depleted and you get depressed.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to go forth a little more and just look at these innuendos. I packed my ammunition could be a reference to that.
Yeah.
I packed my ammunition.
Let me pack you deep in my suitcase so there's sure to be room for two. You can drive me to the airplane, but don't let me catch those rainbow blues.
Yes.
Let me pack you deep in my suitcase. Oh, that's sure to be room for two. Or you can drive me to the airplane, but don't let me catch those rainbow blues.
Even to slip behind a rainbow.
Yeah.
But this is Jethro Tull, and as Ian has famously said, and I believe him, he's never done a drug in his life.
Mm-hmm. I do also believe him.
Yeah.
Oh, and the rain wasn't made of water, like
Right. It was made of vodka.
it was made of vodka or LSD or who knows.
Right. But in this context, yeah, it sort of reminds us of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, or
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good analogy. Is a lot of rock bands at this time kind of had their tongue-in-cheek songs of like, ooh, we're doing drugs, but oh, it's not
Yes.
because it's this. Yeah.
And on their tongues was drugs, and in their cheeks were drugs.
In their cheek pouches.
Yeah. They never searched there at the airport.
Nope.
They never searched the cheek pouch.
No, I'm just feeling a little swollen today, thank you.
But this is Tull, and so I don't think it's drugs.
Correct. I concur. So that being said,
yeah.
like, what the hell
Yeah.
is it?
Well, I think that we should interrogate the next verse a little bit for the seed of our answer.
Okay.
I packed my ammunition. Inside, the crowd was shouting, "Encore!" But I had a most funny feeling. It wasn't me they were shouting for.
I packed my ammunition. Inside the crowd was shouting encore, but I had a most funny feeling. It wasn't me they were shouting for.
So, Nick, let's go back to the definition of what a rainbow is. It is a phenomenon caused by the refraction of pure white light into its many visible elements. The human personality is a singular thing made up of a lot of potentially separate or separatable pieces,
Okay.
is it not?
Yeah. I like this so far.
The way that you talk to your work buddies is differently than the way you talk to your son, I hope.
Actually, I talk with more respect and use bigger words with my son than I do with my work buddies.
Yes. I can just imagine you asking the foreman if he needs to go to the potty.
I have to go potty. All right, just go.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
code switching. Yes.
Code switching. Sure, yes. Well-known phenomenon. This is nothing new. And I think that when you are a rock and roller, the public expects a certain experience from you. They expect you to be a certain person, and surely that's not who you are all of the
Right.
time. Unless maybe you're Ozzy Osbourne, I don't know.
Which would be exhausting, maybe, or maybe not. Like, is it easier to separate yourself by having a persona on stage, or to just be yourself? You know?
I think there's probably not any one solution
Right.
to that question, and I think that we see throughout history lots of different examples of the way that can go. I mean, we were talking about Nick Drake some
Yes.
weeks ago,
Yep.
and I think that's an example of someone who didn't have the ability to separate or what's the thing that the Titanic was?
Sink. A ship?
No, yes, divided into bits. You know, where you divide something sectionated, you have different sections.
Are you talking about like the class separation?
Well, the idea is compartmentalize.
There we
Thank
go. Yeah.
you. Oh, we got there. So Nick Drake was not someone who I think was very able to compartmentalize
Yeah.
aspects of himself, and because of that, he suffered crippling performance anxiety and ultimately killed himself.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
It appears that it would behoove you to have some form of persona, even if it's just a wall between you and your other personality, so to speak. It still offers some form of protection.
Absolutely. I think this is why famous people wear sunglasses, because they don't want people staring into them and trying to see who they are.
Yeah.
They want a little bit of privacy. So for me, this song is about the metaphor of what happens when you go on stage and having your personality, the unity of your personality refracted by the stage lights, as it were, into all these different aspects.
Okay.
And in this song, you know, you're playing a little bit more with the red frequency of your personality, and in this song, you're playing a little bit more with the blue side of your personality.
So the crowd is shouting encore, but I had a most funny feeling it wasn't me they were shouting for.
Exactly.
They're shouting for Jethro Tull. They're not shouting for Ian Anderson.
Exactly. They are shouting for violet and purple and green in a specific combination. They're not shouting for the true white light.
For the pure, yeah.
Because they have no access to that.
Right. And that's Ian Anderson's fault. We've asked him to open up.
We've asked him to do a show in the dark.
That's it. Just you and me. I won't be upset if you're not wearing pants. I assume you won't be upset if I'm not wearing pants, but no one will have to know.
No one has to wear pants.
Because there's no light. There's no light.
Yeah. There's no pants.
All right.
No light.
Except for the glow in the dark body paint I'm wearing. That is enough.
And yet not enough to cover all of us. But I do think that, this is a life-saving strategy, this code switching, as you call it, this refracting of our personality. But I do think that, I wonder if having a lot of these experiences of being on the road, touring all the time, kind of makes you crave an environment where you can just be yourself.
Sure. Well, I think it can go either way. I mean, you're in the long run, presuming you last. I mean, the time frame that Tull has lasted.
Oh my goodness.
The character that is Ian Anderson, the flautist of Jethro Tull, the face, the figure, as we've seen in press releases, the only band member of import in Jethro Tull. He is Jethro Tull. Having lasted so substantially long, that is you to millions and millions of people.
Right.
And if anyone sees any semblance of not that, it is cause for disappointment or upset or complaint. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. It's just a shock. It's a shock to the system,
Well, and, if you don't protect yourself against it, you can have happen to you what happened to your friend and mine, Britney Spears.
Well, right, exactly. There's no right answer here. It is the disease of the condition that is celebrity, unfortunately.
Right. And, I think Ian was protected from some of the awful gender disparity that Britney Spears was exposed to. But I can remember when you and I were teenagers and she was, was early in her career, she was simultaneously the sex symbol and expected to be a virgin.
Right. Yeah.
And once there was any kind of hint or notion that maybe she had sex, it was like a scandal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Britney Spears.
We know.
Come back to our other podcast, Blather Britney to Me, where it's just me crying about my favorite song, Work Bitch.
You better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. You better work, bitch. Now get to work, bitch. Now get to work, bitch.
Yeah, the path that Ian opted to take with Tull and with his personality, a less glitzy rock band than, say, the Stones,
Sure.
Certainly protected him from a lot. His being male protected him from a lot.
Definitely.
But there are still other aspects of it that he is that have formed who the Rainbow Ian is.
Yes. So, Nick, this brings us to the question, and I'd like to go on in the verse. The question I want to posit is, with whom can you be truly yourself?
Is that rhetorical? Or is that directed at me?
No, I think it's rhetorical. I mean, I think it's a question that we all have to ask ourselves. It's worthwhile noticing, with whom can you really be yourself?
Yeah. Those closest to you.
And also, complete strangers.
Yeah, that's true. But that being said, like Rainbow Ian is performing for complete strangers all the time. Oh, but are we not talking about celebrity? Because that is drastically different.
I think it's a general question for humanity, but it brings us into the next part of this second verse. So when the tall, dark lady smiled at me, I said, "Oh, baby, let's go for a ride." We came upon 2 drinks or 4 and popped them oh so neatly inside.
So when the tall dark lady smiled at me, I said, "Oh baby, let us go for a ride." And we came upon 2 drinks or 4 and popped them oh so neatly inside.
Okay. Is the dark lady an actual person? Or is the dark lady euphemism for being alone, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or is it the dark lady of Shakespeare whose eyes were nothing like the sun?
Which is death?
No, it's just some lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, there's the dark lady and the golden boy. Anyway, I think it's quite literal. I think that after the show, there's a nice a TDL, a tall dark lady, and
Your standard TDL.
Standard TDL. And Ian sees the opportunity to have some one-on-one time and have a few drinks and just enjoy oneself. And I think that this is an attempt to resynthesize the disparate parts of the personality into a whole, because I think it's much easier to be oneself with a single person than it is to be with a massive crowd of people who are all shouting at you to leap higher with your flute.
And I just got some tall, dark lady. Dark implies lack of light. Lack of light means no refraction, which means he can be whole again.
Oh, yes. Snaps for Nick. Yes.
I like that.
That's great.
We got that. We got there together, Omen.
We did. And she's tall enough to provide shade.
Yes.
For Ian, at least.
He's a short guy, isn't he?
He is,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it does play into this thing. I do want to point out that sometimes it is, and maybe there is a question of celebrity here, but I do think that it is sometimes possible to really be yourself in the company of total strangers. I'm thinking of all the times that I have been traveling solo and met someone, sat next to someone at an airport bar and ended up having a nice conversation and revealing way more to that person than I would to someone who was middle close with me.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no pretense. There's no expectation. There's the freedom of never seeing this person ever again. So why pretend? Why create an image that's nothing but yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why airport bars are so very dangerous for the pocket. But then we have...
Because you'll keep buying beer?
Exactly. And the beer is overpriced.
Ah, yeah.
And then we have the chorus again, and then we have a thing that I probably wouldn't have noticed without you pointing out the same thing a couple songs back, which is that the chorus shifts the grammar toward the end. Oh, but the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slipped behind a rainbow and lay there until we had done.
Oh, and the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so it slipped behind a rainbow and lay there until we're done. Yeah. So.
Done with what, Nick? Give me an S.
Drinking soda.
Give me an E.
Ceda.
Give me an X.
Sexa?
Mm-hmm.
It's the sexa.
It's the sex.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is clearly not... This is not Ian as Ian. This is more character-based.
Let's say so. Although I don't recall if at this point he was married. Was there a point of time when he was on the road and single?
I mean, I'm sure there must have been. And I don't think his marriage to Jenny lasted terribly long.
Oh, J. Franks?
Yeah, J. Franks.
I think it's-
jfranks.com.
I think it's done. It's done by this point.
And I don't think he's married to Shona at this point either.
So, hey,
Yeah, let me
He's-
check the old wiki here.
he's solo and ready for YOLO.
That works regrettably well.
I know. I'm so sorry about that.
He gets married to Shona in 76.
Hey.
Yeah, so but he's married to Jenny until 74.
This is 75.
No, this is
This is
74,
74,
74. This
you know,
album came out
time-
This album came out in March of 74.
Time on the road is very sort of a
It's fluid. It's yeah.
well, and who knows what the end of the relationship was like.
I've just because I'm looking at the Ian Anderson Wikipedia. Here's a bizarre thing.
Okay, give me it.
Ian Anderson has 2 kids, James Duncan Anderson and Gail, Gael. She works in the film industry, and she's married to Andrew Lincoln, who was the star of The Walking Dead.
Right. Yep.
Rick.
Yep.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
That's why he beheads all the zombies with a flute.
That's right.
Did you not notice that?
I did. You know what? I didn't. I must. Yeah.
Yeah, little fun, little Easter egg.
Little
for,
fun fact.
for the Tull fans.
Yeah.
So, Nick, this song. Let's finish up with the lyrics because there is something else that I want to jump into with this
Yes.
with this song or adjacent to this song. So then we have "Let me pack you deep in my suitcase. Oh, there's sure to be room for 2, or you can drive me to the airplane, but don't let me catch those rainbow blues."
Let me pack you deep in my suitcase. Oh, there's sure to be room for 2. Or you can drive me to the airplane, but don't let me catch those rainbow blues.
Now, this in my head could represent 2 things, or possibly 2 things at the same time. One is that it could be speaking to the TDL, the tall dark lady.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which we have no reason not to think that.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you had a special friend that you've had to leave and thought, "Oh, let me just pack you deep in my suitcase"?
Yeah, like maybe this isn't just a fling because the hormones are still ripping, and you're like, oh wait, this could be something. Come
Right,
on,
get it.
come on tour with me.
Get in my pocket. Yes. Or it could be referring to packing away his personality. Packing away Rainbow Ian next to White Light Ian.
Right. That you is the white light Ian because he's got to go out into public again, and even though it's not on stage, he's going to go out into an airport and maybe be recognized or something along those lines.
He's got to leave the Holiday Inn in Sheboygan.
Yeah. Nobody wants to leave the Holiday Inn in Sheboygan, believe it or not, but
No one wants to leave Sheboygan.
He's got it. He's got another. Where the hell is Sheboygan?
Sheboygan. Sheboygan is north of Milwaukee on
Wisconsin. Okay.
On Lake Michigan. And where were they touring at this point, Nick? Do you know?
Oh, in 74.
Yeah.
Let's see. They did mostly in the UK, actually.
Oh, really?
Yep. In 74, they had no dates in the States.
No dates in the States.
My second favorite Tull song. So it was the UK, Australia, Japan, France, New Zealand, Spain, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this was inspired by Sweden.
You think so?
Northern Lights?
Well, oh yeah, probably. But there's a chance it was most likely written in 73, or there's a chance that it was written in 73.
Sure.
Right?
We don't know the date of conception of this song.
Yes. And we don't know the lineage. But in 73, they were in the States for 72 gigs. So
wow.
Yep. The States, then Germany, Canada, Italy, only twice in the UK. Yeah.
So Nick, any final thoughts regarding the song itself?
No, despite it being slightly confusing, which it's kind of nice to go back to I don't really know what this song is about. It's kind of fun to revisit that kind of song.
I think we've pretty much nailed it though.
As an overarching theme, yes, I think we did, but there are bits and pieces in here that are like, what could this be?
Sure, yeah, there are multiple ways of reading it.
But that aside, like musically, this is just such a good song. There's so much, particularly in that chorus, that I like so much. There's so much passion in that chorus that I really, really like.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
This notion of the different selves and the difficulty caused by how to negotiate them makes me think of the Buddhist concept of no self.
So no light. So you're the tall, dark lady?
I am the darkness. Yes. You can't refract what's not there.
That's true. That's true.
Now, Nick, speaking of personalities,
Mm-hmm.
I read online a theory, which I think is false, but it's fun.
Great talking point.
And it's a good segue into a fun little thing.
Okay.
And the theory was that this was a song about being upstaged by the band Rainbow.
Huh.
Which was a prog rock, heavy rock, kind of neo-classic rock band, which was a contemporary of Tull. Now, the difficulty with this theory, of course, is that Rainbow wasn't founded until 1975. So...
I mean,
yeah,
I'm not
of a problem there.
I'm not sure that's difficult at all. I think that makes it the easiest part of the theory.
Right. But it does lead us to a fun little trip in the atmosphere of prog rock, and that is Richard Blackmore. One of the founding members of Deep Purple.
Yes.
A guitarist creating famous guitar riffs. Dum 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 dum. And later on, forming Rainbow and more recently, Blackmore's Night.
Wait, he founded Rainbow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he was in Rainbow.
Well, part of Rainbow, but still, like I like the crazy conspiracy theory links now by the fact that he was a part of Rainbow.
And the theory, although obviously wrong, is further deepened by the thing that I read online, and so it's probably true, which is that Richard Blackmore really wanted to be in Jethro Tull.
Oh, was he one of the ones who auditioned for Mick's part that Martin got? I don't think so. I think we'd remember that.
I think we would have remembered that, but I think that, they were clearly, they must have been running in the same circles for a long time.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. He was British too.
He was British, and as we know, all Brits know each other.
He is still British. I mean, they're more likely to cross paths, I would imagine, than Steppenwolf or Lynyrd Skynyrd,
Oh, sure. And it's interesting, if you listen to the 90s cover, in which Blackmore's Night covers this song, you can hear a little echo of the alternate world, the alternate Tulliverse, where Richie Blackmore was the guitarist for Jethro Tull. And it's not a bad sound. I'm not saying that he's better than Martin Barre.
But it's passable.
You could imagine it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can get past the silly Ren fairness that is Blackmore's Night, the guitar is actually pretty good.
Let's have a listen to that right now.
And then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place, and the sun so we slept behind the rainbow and lay back till we had done.
Ooh, that was very nice. And now let's hear the same bit played by Martin Barre.
Oh, but the rain wasn't made of water.
I mean,
I could see it. Like, he's the less respected little brother of Martin Barr.
exactly. As Shakespeare said, who would not choose... No. Who would not trade a raven for a dove?
That
The dove is Martin Barr.
I would not, because my wife's name is Raven.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Shakespeare.
You're welcome.
Nick, anything else that we want to talk about this song or about anything at all?
I think we covered a lot of it. I think that was pretty sufficient. I think as usual, I bow to you and praise to you for doing far more research than I do and finding those really juicy tidbits.
I really did look at my phone for a few minutes while drinking my coffee. So
Yeah, that's more than I did. I played Pokemon, so
Oh, Nick, would you like, I don't know if we have time for this right now. Well, you can cut it if you don't want it. But would you like to know a fun anecdote of why I am personally tied to rainbows? And it's not because I'm a member of the LGBTQ community.
I couldn't even begin to guess if it's not that. So yeah, let's hear it.
Well, a rainbow, a very special kind of rainbow, is actually where I get my name. When my dad was a young scientist and living in Puerto Rico studying rhesus monkeys, he went on a hike up a mountain which is called in Spanish Mount Misery.
Go on.
Beware metaphors ahead. And he climbed up this big mountain, and it was raining, and he was miserable, appropriately. And it seemed like the mountain would never end, and then just at the moment when he was beginning to despair, he reached the summit, which was flat.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment when he reached the flat summit, the sun came out and produced a meteorological phenomenon, which is very rare, but is called a Brocken specter, which looks like a circular double rainbow. It looks like a rainbow, but it goes all the way around, and there are two of them, one outside the other.
Yes.
Furthermore, in this phenomenon, the sun is behind the viewer, and so it projects a shadow of the viewer into the middle of the rainbow.
Oh my gosh.
So he came up the summit and saw the figure of a man standing inside this circle of colored light. And he thought, well, that is an omen.
Huh. I'll put a link to the Google image search in the show notes. Like, it's slightly terrifying, but also amazing and just wow.
Right. So then years later, when I was born, he remembered that incident and named me after it.
Because of it's a good thing he didn't name you Brock Inspector. I'll give you that.
That's my middle name.
I mean, your middle name is just as goofy as Brock Inspector.
Spectre would be a pretty cool name. I mean, you'd be dooming your child to a life as a Bond villain.
Yeah, Brock Spector is definitely a Bond villain name.
Before I kill you, Mr. Bond, I'm going
Look
to
at my shadow.
Look at this rainbow. Ooh. Jimmy, get the hose. Well, Nick, what are we listening to next week?
Oh gosh, next week is the song that it's funny. Next week is the song whenever I see the song Rainbow Blues, this song pops into my head, and then I get to the chorus and I'm like, oh wait, it's not Rainbow Blues, it's Glory Row.
Yeah. Love Glory
Also
Row.
a really good song.
It.
Yeah.
How many songs do we have left on this bonus track?
Oh my goodness.
Album.
We have, including Glory Row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
Yeah, we've still got another month's worth of War Child bonus track content.
Amazing.
Yeah, pretty great.
Until next week, you don't have to divide your personality. You can shine on us with the pure white light of your 5-star rating and positive review on iTunes.
If you have to break up the starlight, break it up into 5 and
Stars.
Nah.
If you are a tall, dark lady, stoop down and give us a lovely pat on the head in the form of a nice review or a recommendation to a friend.
As recompense, we will put you in our suitcase.
You can always travel along in our suitcase because we are going nowhere.
The rain was not made of water, it was made of 5-star reviews.
This is a fertile field.
I think I'm pretty done.
Until next time, I am the light known as Omen Sade.
I am the Brockenspecter known as Nick McGill.
Together, we are the darkness called Feckless Momes.
And this is the refracted glory that is Talk Tull to me.
Welcome back to the 60th Annual Atmospheric and Meteorological Society Convention. Today we are very lucky to have a presentation on meteorological phenomenon by none other than eminent atmosphericistician Britt Brackertson.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to begin with everybody knows that what a Brockenspecter is. It is. It's wonderful to behold, but it's so commonplace.
That's right.
If you'll take a look at my slide number 1 here, we have an example of a much more rare phenomenon. It is called the Spreuchendusen. It is where a Brockenspecter is actually flipped opposite, so you don't see a rainbow or your shadow.
Can you translate what the Spreuchendusen means?
My German's a little rusty, so excuse me. I believe that translates to Talk Tull to me. Is that correct?
Yeah, and how significant is this phenomenon?
Well, it is all easily explained when you realize that is a part of the Feckless Momes audio network.